Auto Week magazine.
It just doesn't get any better than this. Car and Driver.
Inside this handsome new structure is a cabin that caters to the driver, Motor Trend.
We've always received our fair share of accolades. The key is never being satisfied with them.
Now you can lease a 2003 Accord LX sedan for $239 a month for 39 months.
You're watching CBS 4 News at 6.
And that's our news for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll see you back here at 11 for CBS 4 News tonight. Now it's time for the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather, a 1-hour special.
Good night. Showdown with Saddam. War likely soon. Tonight, the end game. An ultimatum to Saddam Hussein. Get out of Iraq. U.S. forces are coming in. Iraq says no. Diplomacy fails. An invasion now appears days, maybe hours away. From around the world tonight, comprehensive coverage of the U.S. and Iraq on the razor's edge of war.
This is a special expanded edition of the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. And it is a solemn, sobering evening because America is going to war this week unless there is some unexpected, dramatic new development. President Bush addresses the nation and the world tonight. He will say, time is up. Saddam Hussein has not disarmed. The United States is ready to invade Iraq to make him disarm and remove him from power. Here are today's major developments. The United States withdrew a proposed UN Security Council resolution in effect authorizing war because it was clear it could not pass. Secretary of State Powell said the time for diplomacy has ended. President Bush is giving Saddam an ultimatum tonight. Leave Iraq or U.S.-led forces will invade. But Iraq says Saddam will not leave. So, in all probability, it's war in a matter of days, if not hours. And CBS News has mobilized all our resources to cover it. We have correspondents in key positions around the world, including inside Iraq, to report on the military moves, the political implications, and the national security concerns here at home. We begin at the White House with Bill Plant. Bill?
And the president tonight will give Saddam Hussein an ultimatum. Leave Iraq within the next 48 to 72 hours, or the U.S. and its partners will attack. Mr. Bush will also warn outsiders that it's time to get out of Iraq. He'll remind them that in the last Gulf War, Saddam Hussein held some Westerners as hostages. With war now likely in a matter of days, the United Nations ordered all its people, arms inspectors, aid workers, and peacekeepers out of Iraq. Tonight, Mr. Bush will let the world know that Saddam Hussein has only one option left.
The only way to avoid the serious consequences is for Saddam Hussein and his immediate cohort to leave the country and to allow this matter to be resolved through the peaceful entry of force and not a conflict.
The president, who was seen only briefly today on the south lawn of the White House, conferred with officials in Britain and Spain as he prepared for his speech, drafted over the weekend by writers who accompanied him to yesterday's summit. That was a 3-hour meeting of U.S. allies in the Azores, where Mr. Bush squarely blamed France's veto threat for the allies' inability to get a final UN resolution authorizing force.
One country voted. They showed their cards, I believe. It's an old Texas expression. Show your cards when you're playing poker. France showed their cards.
The French fired back today, saying that in any case, the U.S. never had a majority of votes in the UN, and suggesting that the president was tactless.
I think this expression is unfortunate. I don't think that we can compare war to any kind of game.
And so the final day of diplomacy came to a formal end this morning when Britain's ambassador announced that his nation, the U.S. and Spain, would not call for a vote on the final resolution.
The co-sponsors reserve their right to take their own steps to secure the disarmament of Iraq.
The president will say again tonight that he believes the U.S. has the legal authority under previous UN resolutions to take military action. Dan?
Bill Plant at the White House. CBS News will, of course, bring you live coverage of President Bush's address beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, 7 Central. So when can you expect military action to begin? CBS's David Martin at the Pentagon is following the planning and has the latest on a possible timeline. David? Dan, most of the president's advisors wanted a 48-hour deadline to the ultimatum, but Defense Secretary Rumsfeld, who is responsible for the readiness of the troops, wanted 72 hours. Either way, officials expect the war to start before the week is out.
There are now 250,000 American troops in position for the start of the war, 150,000 of them in Kuwait, where UN observers continued their pullout from the border area, and the U.S. Embassy told all Americans to get out.
Come on, move.
We're telling them that they should leave. We're urging them in the strongest possible terms to leave Kuwait.
The Iraqi military is gearing up to make the American march on Baghdad as costly as possible.